1994 MLB Players Strike, the season that never finished. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're rediving into one of the darkest chapters in baseball history, the 1994 Major League Baseball Players Strike. This wasn't just a labor dispute, it was a clash that canceled the World Series for the first time in 90 years, left fans heartbroken, and changed the game forever. In this video, we'll break down why tensions boiled over, what caused the strike, how it finally ended, and why the 1994 season was lost. Grab some popcorn, because this is a wild story of money, power, and America's pastime. Let's get started. Setting the stage, baseball in the early 90s. To understand the 1994 strike, we need to go back to the early 90s. Baseball was booming, stadiums were full. Stars like Tony Gwynn and Matt Williams were chasing historic records, and the Montreal Expos were dominating with a 74-40 record, the best in the league. But beneath the surface, trouble was brewing. The Collective Bargaining Agreement, or CBA, which governed the relationship between players and owners, expired on December 31, 1993. Without a new deal, negotiations were already tense by the start of the 1994 season. The Major League Baseball Players Association, led by Donald Fair, was a powerful union fighting for players' rights. Meanwhile, team owners, with Bud Selig as acting commissioner, were worried about the sport's finances. Player salaries had skyrocketed, averaging $1.2 million in 1994, and small market teams like the Expos and Cleveland Indians struggled to compete with big spenders like the Yankees. This set the stage for a showdown. Why did the strike happen? The core issues. So, why did the players go on strike? It all came down to money and control. The owners proposed a new revenue-sharing plan tied to a salary cap, a limit on how much teams could spend on player salaries. They argued this would level the playing field, helping smaller teams stay competitive by sharing local broadcasting revenues. But the players saw this as a direct attack on their earning potential. A salary cap would restrict free agency and limit big contracts, something the union had fought hard to secure in the 1970s. On June 14, 1994, the owners formally presented their proposal, which also eliminated salary arbitration, a process where players could negotiate raises. The players, still stung by the owners' collusion in the 1980s to suppress free agent salaries, flat-out rejected it. Donald Fair called it no benefit to the players. Tensions escalated when the owners withheld $7.8 million owed to the players' pension and benefit plans, a move seen as a deliberate provocation. Then, on June 23, the Senate Judiciary Committee voted 10-7 against antitrust legislation that could have helped the players' case, leaving them feeling cornered. By July 28, the MLBPA set August 12, 1994, as the strike date. They believed a mid-season strike would pressure the owners to negotiate before the postseason. But both sides were digging in, and fans were caught in the crossfire. The strike begins. August 12, 1994. On August 11, 1994, the last games of the season were played. Randy Johnson struck out Ernie Young in Oakland, and that was it. No more baseball. The next day, the players walked off, and the strike began. Fans were devastated. Signs at games read, "Kids love baseball and please, no strike." But the players felt they had no choice. As Donald Fair said, "We were pushed into it." The tension was palpable. Negotiations stalled 3.5 hours with federal mediators on August 31, lead nowhere. The owners wouldn't budge on the salary cap, and the players wouldn't accept it. Acting Commissioner Bud Selig set a tentative deadline of September 9 to cancel the season if no deal was reached. When that day passed with no progress, Selig made the call on September 14. The rest of the 1994 season, including the playoffs and World Series, was cancelled. For the first time since 1904, there was no Fall Classic. This was a gut punch. The Montreal Expos, potential World Series contenders, lost their dream season. Tony Gwynn was batting .394, close to becoming the first 400 hitter since Ted Williams. Matt Williams had 43 homers, eyeing Roger Maris' record. Even Michael Jordan, playing minor league ball for the White Sox, missed a potential MLB call-up. The strike cost owners $580 million and players $230 million in salaries. The fallout: fans, players, and replacement players. The cancellation wasn't just a financial hit, it crushed baseball's spirit. Fans felt betrayed, calling players greedy and owners out of touch. Attendance would suffer for years, and the sport's popularity took a dive. Players like Dave Stewart and Goose Gossage, who retired in 1994, never got a proper send-off. The Expos, with the lowest payroll but the best record, had to slash costs the next year, starting a decline that led to their relocation. As the strike dragged into 1995, the owners tried a desperate move: replacement players. They planned to start the 1995 season with minor leaguers and retirees, like Dennis "Oil-Can" Boyd, promising $5,000 bonuses, but this was a disaster waiting to happen. Baltimore Orioles owner Peter Angelos refused to use replacements, and fans weren't buying it either. Imagine watching a World Series with scabs instead of stars. Nobody wanted that. The resolution. How the strike ended. The strike lasted 232 days, but the turning point came in early 1995. On January 4th, Congress introduced 5 bills to end the dispute, but they went nowhere. President Bill Clinton ordered both sides to negotiate by February 6th, but that deadline passed without a deal. The owners had briefly revoked the salary cap on January 31st, a small concession, but it wasn't enough. The real game changer came on March 31st, 1995. When U.S. District Court Judge Sonia Sotomayor, the future Supreme Court Justice, issued an injunction against the owners, the MLBPA had appealed to the National Labor Relations Board, arguing that the owners' unilateral changes, like imposing a salary cap and altering free agency rules, were illegal. Sotomayor agreed, restoring the terms of the expired CBA. This forced the owners to abandon replacement players and negotiate in good faith. On April 2, 1995, the strike ended. The players agreed to return under the old CBA while negotiations continued. The 1995 season was shortened to 144 games. Starting April 25th, it took years. But a new CBA was finally signed in 1997, introducing revenue sharing but no salary cap, a win for the players. Why the season couldn't be saved? So, why couldn't the 1994 season be saved? It came down to timing and trust. The strike started too late in the season. August 12th left little room to finish games and hold a postseason. By September, both sides were so entrenched that compromise was impossible. The owners' hardline stance on a salary cap and the players' refusal to accept it created a stalemate. Even federal mediators couldn't break the deadlock. Bud Selig later admitted the strike tore an irreparable hole in the game's fabric. The financial losses were huge, but the emotional toll was worse. Fans lost faith, and players like Kent Herbig, who retired in 1994, hung up their cleats with bittersweet memories. The lack of a neutral commissioner. Selig was an owner himself, didn't help. Donald Fair didn't trust him, and negotiations suffered. Legacy. In conclusion, the 1994 strike changed baseball forever. It ushered in a new era of labor peace. There hasn't been a work stoppage since, but it came at a cost. Attendance dropped, and it took years for fans to forgive. The Expos never recovered, and players like Tony Gwynn missed historic milestones. Yet, the Players' Union proved its strength, ensuring no salary cap and protecting free agency. What do you think? Were the players right to strike, or did the owners have a point? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more baseball history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.